Hi, welcome back. I just want to apologize for taking a hiatus for the last month and a half or so, almost 2 months now. I only had 4 videos out. Yeah, life got a little crazy. It was holidays, but I am back now. So our plan is, right now, we're going to try to put out 1 video a week. We may not reach that goal, but that's our goal for right now, to do 1 video a week. So right now I'm going to throw you back to some video that I recorded a couple weeks ago about our Australian water dragon. Hi, welcome back to the channel. So we are back in the new year 2021, so let's get to the show. Today we will be talking about Australian water dragons. One of our first episodes we talked about one of the other Australian species we keep, which is the Rankin's dragon. This is going to be the Australian water dragon. There is also a Chinese water dragon, which used to be in the same genus, but they actually found so much differences between them that they split genuses. So the Australian water dragon and Chinese water dragon used to be in the same genus, which was Physognathus. Now only the Chinese water dragon is in that genus, and the Australian water dragon, which we'll be talking about today, is now in the genus Intelligama. So the full scientific name for the Eastern Australian water dragon is Intelligama lesuri. So the Australian water dragons are split up into 2 species. The more northern species, which mainly resides in Queensland, is the Eastern Australian water dragon, which is the water dragon that we have here. There is also a Gippsland water dragon, who resides more in the southern part of Australia. So let's take a look at our water dragon. So this is our Australian water dragon. We rescued her almost a year ago. The home that she came from previously, they didn't know how to care for her. She was obviously not treated very well when she was younger. She is missing her right eye. It doesn't seem to bother her very much though. She still gets around fairly well. And when I first got her, she did not like to be touched at all. She would flip out and freak out, run all over the cage every time you even tried to go near her. And as you can see now, just almost a year later, she is perfectly docile, handleable, doesn't even mind being handled, will come out and just kind of hang out with you. So this is a female. She is adult size. She may get slightly larger than this. Adult size in these guys is about 2 to 3 feet. As you can see, about 2/3 of their total body length is made up of their tail. Like I said earlier, this is a female. She is laying eggs. Unfortunately, they are not fertile as we don't have a male in there with her. We're planning to get a male hopefully later this year. Australian water dragons in general are not very easy to find. They are fairly unkept species in the trade, and males are even harder to find than females. So hopefully with any luck we'll be able to find a male for her this year and start producing some more of these guys for you to be able to take home to own one of your own Australian water dragons at home. So like I said before, these guys' main habitat is in Queensland, which is in northwestern Australia. They are a semi-arboreal species. You see they have very, very sharp claws that they use for holding on and climbing all of those trees and branches. As you can see in her enclosure, I do have some branches. This is a temporary enclosure. She will be getting a much, much larger enclosure with a large body of water, almost like her own little pond that she can swim in. These do require large bodies of water as they will swim in the wild. They would be perched usually near flowing water somewhere, near a stream or a river, some sort of flowing water, rather than stagnant pond water or a lake. They can be found anywhere from rainforest, tropical areas of Australia, all the way up to higher elevations near alpine creeks. In the wild, as juveniles, these, just like greater dragons and Rankin's dragons, as juveniles, they tend to be more insectivorous. So in the wild, these guys would be eating ants and cicadas. And as they get older, they turn to more omnivorous diet, eating about 50% fruits and vegetables, and the other 50% would be insects and even small rodents. They will take down baby mice. This girl loves a good pinky or even fuzzy at this size. One of the fruits that they do like in the wild are figs. So when we move into our new facility, which will hopefully be finding something this year, I would love to actually put a big tree into her enclosure. She's going to have an enormous enclosure with a big pond. I want to make a flowing stream in her enclosure to replicate where she'll be living in the wild, where she can perch on the branches of the fig tree and be able to have flowing water. They will also eat crustaceans and mollusks in the wild, so I try to vary that up. I do get crayfish and snails. She will eat the crayfish. She does like a tree of crayfish every once in a while, and I try to keep fish and crayfish in her enclosure. As you can see, she does have water down here and down here. Swimming is kind of hard to see, but there are mosquito fish swimming around in her enclosure. So she can go down and take a bite whenever she wants. You want to make sure to keep that water clean. Make sure you have a filter running all the time, because they will defecate in their water, making it very dirty very often. So the lifespan of these guys is about 12 to 20 years. So they live quite a while. So in captivity, you're going to be feeding these guys mainly on a diet of insects. The biggest variety, the better. So I mix it up with crickets, superworms, mealworms, roaches. I have dubia roaches, and I have hissing cockroaches. And occasionally I will get lobster roaches, all of which are very easy to keep and even breed, as long as you keep the room that these guys are in fairly warm. For instance, roaches need room temperature of at least in the mid to low 80s, if not warmer, to successfully breed. As well as superworms and mealworms. Mealworms are very easy to breed. You keep a bunch of them together, so I make sure when they turn into beetles that you separate them out. The beetles will lay eggs, and then those eggs will hatch and turn into more mealworms. You just feed all of my worms, my superworms and mealworms. I feed on a diet of oranges, apples, lettuce. I also supplement with a water crystal, just to make sure that they always keep hydrated. They always have some sort of water in there to drink. You don't want to put a water bowl in there though, as the bugs will crawl inside and drown. Another important thing when keeping reptiles, especially where we are up here in upstate New York, it gets very cold during the winter. So none of these animals are kept outside during the winter for obvious reasons. So the majority of almost all of our animals' lives are spent indoors. So your UVB, which I have right up here, is essential for all reptiles when you're keeping them indoors. You want to make sure that you're changing out your UV bulbs roughly every 6 months. After 6 months, the light will still work, but the actual UVB radiation coming off of the bulbs starts decreasing after 6 months. You want to make sure you change your bulbs after that. And also, with their diet, you want to dust it with a multivitamin for these guys, also with a calcium powder with D3. Especially if they're kept indoors, you want to supplement with D3, because in the wild, or if they're kept outdoors, they would get vitamin D3 through the UVB rays of natural sunlight. Indoors, we try to keep them the best we can with our UVB lights, but unfortunately we don't know if it's good enough, or if our bulbs aren't producing the correct amount of UVB rays. You can buy an instrument to test the UV radiation coming off your bulbs. It is fairly expensive. I do not.
Alright, so that last video got cut off at the end. I was recording with one of my other cameras, and I went to go stop the recording and it was already stopped. But I did get through pretty much everything that I wanted to talk to you about them. We ended on the lighting for these guys. Again, you want to make sure that they have UVB lighting. Change it every 6 months because the UVB radiation does dissipate after about 6 months. So you want to make sure you're changing those bulbs every 6 months, even though you will still see light coming out of them. They won't be having the right amount of UVB radiation. Also adding the calcium with the vitamin D3 to their diet will help in case they're not getting enough UVB. The calcium with the D3 will help them generate everything they need into their body so that they can keep their bones nice and strong, and so they will not get MBD, which is metabolic bone disease, which is unfortunately common in a lot of captive reptiles due to the lack of UVB radiation that they would get out in the wild. So we'll end the video here for the day. Just want to give you one last look here at our beautiful little girl. She does not have a name yet, so if you think of a name for her, drop them down in the comments below. Let us know what you think she should be named. Like I said before, we will hopefully be getting a male for this girl later this year, so we can have some Australian water dragon babies, which would be awesome. And we are in the middle of designing a new enclosure for her, so she will have a much larger enclosure than this one behind me, which is the largest glass enclosure I have in here. It's a 36 by 36 by 18, but it isn't big enough for her. She's gonna get a little bit bigger than she is now, so she needs something much larger than that. So in her new enclosure, she will have a large 55-gallon pond that she can swim in. She will have plenty of substrate, about 6 inches of substrate that she can dig and lay her eggs in. Lots and lots of climbing branches. We're going to try to have a live tree in there. We'd love to have a live fig tree in there so she can eat the fruits as well as climb on it. But I think that'll be all for us today. Thank you for joining. Hit that like button, subscribe, comment down below, let us know what you think of it. And we will see you next week. Bye.